รายการต่อไปนี้
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're talking about Lovely Writer. Woo!
Warning. Lovely Writer is a BL click away if not your taste. Also contains spoilers. Watch the series beforehand.
So what is Lovely Writer about? Here's my summary of Lovely Writer. So Gene is a horror/thriller writer. His publisher approaches him and asks him to write a BL. The BL becomes so popular that it becomes a series. And on the film set, he meets one of the actors, Sib, and the two become close. However, as they kind of grow close with each other and develop a good bond, their professional and personal lives are impacted by the novel and the series. And they both have to kind of navigate through that together and resolve the issues. And now here are the main highlights and plot overviews, in my opinion, of what the series goes through. So first we're introduced to Gene and how he's a writer. And he meets Sib on the film set, who we can tell right away as an audience that Sib has an interest in Gene or has a crush on him. And so the two kind of like become close and get to know each other on the film set. However, Gene finds out later that Sib is actually his childhood friends when he goes to visit his parents. And when they were both children, they were neighbors, so that's how they became childhood friends. This causes internal turmoil for Gene because he's supposed to see Sib as a younger brother, not to have romantic relationships with him. Well, I guess in a way you can kind of see how Gene may not have that experience and he's more of an introverted person, which I'll get to in a bit when I get to the character analysis. However, they both kind of like talked to each other and they rekindled their misunderstanding. However, a new problem arises when they bring up their relationship to their families who don't accept that their sons are gay and are dating each other. However, unfortunately, the family does accept that Gene and Sib are dating. However, a new problem arises when fans of the series that Gene and Sib are involved in, call My Bad Engineer or Bad Engineer the series, when fans spot Gene and Sib together, and this causes a rift because some fans believe that Gene is getting in the way of Aoey, hopefully I'm saying that right, Aoey's and Sib's fictional relationship in the series. And so the two decide to part in order to appease the fans. On one hand, Gene is mature about it. However, Sib is like, no, like, let's just terminate the contract, like, we can get through this together. But Gene definitely believes that they have to be mature about the situation, even if Sib suggests that money can resolve the issue. Sib, oh my god, basically, Gene wants to be mature about the whole situation, and Sib just wants to terminate the contract, but baby, that's not how it works. Basically is what Gene says, and not everything can be resolved with money, especially money that isn't your own, but instead your family's. So the two kind of separate for 4 months, and then Sib terminates his contract and they can be together again. It seems that Sib is under new management and Gene is thriving as a writer and kind of becomes more confident and expressing their relationships to other people, and that at one point he was a boys' love writer. And now we're going to move on to the character analysis. So the first character we have is Gene. So Gene is my spirit animal. Oh my gosh, I can relate to him so much. We're both introverted. We prefer to like stay up late and wake up late. He's also introverted. He also overthinks, but he is also mature. But I think the biggest debate that fans have is Was Jean overreacting when he found out that Sib was actually was Sib overreacting when he found out that Sib was actually his childhood friend? And like some of the fans were like, oh my god, like Jean is overreacting, and other part was like, I kind of understand where he's coming from. Personally, I understand Jean. I feel like as a type of person who also overthinks, and also but found out if a guy was like 5 years younger than me, I would be like a little bit taken aback. I mean, this is gonna sound bad, but if that guy was 5 years younger than me, is Sib, maybe I wouldn't be as like thrown back. But the fact that Sib wasn't really honest to Jean in the beginning, I definitely understand that. And like how Jean may have thought that Sib was really just playing around with him. I definitely would have think that if a younger and hotter hot guy was approaching me that way. I even had this conversation with my friends, and I was like, hey, like, how do you guys feel if you were like approached by a guy who's 5 years younger than you are?
Also, I felt for Jean. He just wants to write, but his private life got thrown into the spotlight.
So the next character that we're analyzing is Sib. Oh, Sib. Sib is fine as hell. Whoa! I just remember seeing Koi, right? Up. No, wait. How do I not remember the actor's name? Whatever, I'll just correct myself. I just remember seeing him in Until We Meet Again, and boy, whoa! I honestly thought that he was the hottest Thai actor I've ever seen. Whoa. Anyways, Sib, you are hot as hell, honey. But sometimes your age of being 20 really shows. Look, I understand that being 20 is like, technically you're an adult, but there's definitely a lot more growing to do. And I'm really glad that they showed Sib's immaturity at one point. Especially that scene when he's like, I can terminate my contract, like, I'll just resolve it with money. And Jean's like, no, you can't do that. Like, you can't just resolve everything with money. You just have to give it time and then resolve it on her own. And also in episode 12, like, I just wanted to punch him. Like, Sib, like, I understand you're so excited to see Jean, but please, honey, please just read the god dang contract. But other than that, I do. But besides that, I do like Sib as a character. There's a lot of good qualities about him. Even sometimes he does kind of act mature and spoiled. He does treat Jean really well, and he definitely doesn't want to push him, and he always asks for Jean's consent and permission and basically communicates with Jean, and that's really refreshing. We love that. We stand. Yes. We're on to the third character. To be honest, I think his name is pronounced Aoey. Well, it's like Joey with an A in front of it if you're just listening and then the background. Anyways, so Aoey, at first I didn't like him, and I thought he was like trying to be sad in order to garner sympathy for himself. But I kind of realized that he's a very complex and mysterious person, and he's not really a true anti-character, which is kind of nice and refreshing to see in Lovely Writer. While I don't agree with a lot of his choices, I do ultimately feel empathy for his character. He's always surrounded by toxicity, and especially later during that dinner scene, we find out that his sister basically says that, I can't take any more of the pressure again, like, you need to come back, and, you know, like, I can't take dad's expectations. And that definitely speaks a lot of volumes, how he has a lot of pressure from his family, I think, in order to do well. And you can definitely see that the sister was definitely jealous about her choices and what she did. And another thing that I really liked is I'm glad that he didn't end up with Mark, Mark? Hopefully I'm saying that name right. I'm so grateful that in BL Land, like, every character ends up with somebody, but it's just kind of like a pet peeve in series or dramas when you keep chasing your unrequited love and then you just automatically get together, which, honey, if that person don't like you, back the away, and that's okay. Okay, that's called life. Not everyone is going to like you, and I'm really glad that we didn't really get this closure in life as well. Well, I think that there's a lot of mystery shrouding around Aoey. I think he definitely also portrays an actor's life, how sometimes what they show on the screen or on their social media can be kind of interpreted differently, and we don't really know what their lives are like behind the screen. I think a lot of people were saying that Aoey was just doing it to get attention, like when he was crying on his live stream. But if you kind of like analyze it, a lot of the times when a character kind of is sat on camera, the actual camera will shift and like show them like their actual reactions. But even when Aoey was by himself, or like when everyone had to leave during the meeting, you definitely saw him like crying. Like he actually was like lying down or sitting there crying. And I think, based on this logic, I think his feelings was real and genuine, and I hope we get a more like deep dive into his character. It'd be kind of cool if he had his own series and he found his own inner happiness. And man, I just wish the best for Aoey. He's fictional, but man, I just wish for the best for him.
Brr, the plot twist when we find out he likes Jean. I thought that at first, but he also seems to be interested in Sib. If I watch it again, have to look at it more closely. If he likes Jean, can you imagine what Sib and him talked about during dinner? Juicy.
The next character we're talking about is Tiffy and Tom. So basically I wrote bullet points of what we're going to talk about. So this section is going to be more impromptu. So at first I was like, oh my god, there is a straight couple in BL, like why? I don't care. But honestly, after like watching them, I thought their dynamic was really kind of cool and refreshing. It was nice to see a tough girl like Tiffy, who's more on the tomboy side, and after watching her, I just developed such a girl crush on her. Like, oh, she's so pretty, like, yes, just let me be your girlfriend. Well, she is bi, that's awesome. I feel like I really rarely see any like bi or pansexual characters in BL, and I hope it can be expandable to other series as well. So and it's kind of cool to see Tom being more on the feminine side, and it really ultimately sucks because why do we have to label a guy who's more in touch with his feminine side to be automatically be gay? But yeah, I ultimately really did admire Tiffy at the end. I love how she was there for Aoey, that I kind of feel bad when she decided to leave, but I applaud her for that. And I'm kind of jealous because I know that if I was in an environment or in a work environment that I didn't really agree on, and there wasn't like a backup plan for me, or I didn't have like what I was planning on going to do next, then I would ultimately stay. But I love how she's able to kind of do what she thinks is right and walk away from the situation, which kind of makes sense with the whole like reveal that the reason why she moved to a different place was because of her mom, and that was so sad. Like, I wish she got the opportunity for her mom to accept her for who she was or who she is. And oh my gosh, when I found out that Tom's sister is Tam, I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I'm slow. He mentioned it in episode 6, but I didn't realize until episode 11.
And the last thing that I want to touch about on this couple is that why did Tiffy only believe that Tom was being genuine, like, to his confession when he rapped, like... So the fifth character we're getting into is Hin. So at first I consider Hin to be like a supporting character, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having supporting characters, right? In order to have supporting characters, their roles are either to kind of give the realm of realism, like you have to have extras and characters wherever you go. However, I think that the writers did a phenomenal job with this character. There was so much like world building around him that I was just like, yes, I was just finding myself rooting for him at the end and stuff. I feel like there's definitely two ways you can utilize a side character. One is the traditional sense that they're side characters, they're just used to give realism that a world exists. Or two, you kind of use an extra character to bring suspense or a plot twist. Like, for example, a bus driver can just be a bus driver, but you can also use a bus driver as like a witness for something, or like, oh hey, like the bus driver saw something, and that can definitely kind of move the story in a certain direction that you wanted to go. So I think that's what the characters did in Hin's case. Like, they were able to utilize his character in a different direction. But I think ultimately what really sucked me into his character was that they were able to bring about what it was like having a struggle as a writer, and I can definitely relate to that when Hin was kind of revising his work and he didn't really feel like it was up to par. At first I was kind of mad at Gene during that one episode. I was like, Gene, like, just tell him what he needs to fix, like, give him feedback. But then I was kind of reflecting. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, being a writer and your writing is basically an integral part of yourself. And you have to give yourself time to reflect and revise your work before you let someone else give you feedback. And then another thing that I definitely want to touch on is that I love the platonic like relationship we see between Hin and Gene, especially in I think episode 12 and stuff. I mean there is like friendship in other BLs as well, but the way that scene was shot, it was just so platonic, and God, I just love it. Like, yes, we stan. So next, I'm going to talk about LGBTQ problems that the series covered, and also how it exposed toxic fan culture and problems with the industry. So the first thing I want to talk about is the family dynamic. It was really interesting seeing, and I think it was like around episode 9 when the family members were kind of joking around dinner how, oh my god, this actor or this actor playing a series, like they were making a cute couple, but when it came to their sons being actual gay, it was just like, oh my god, that's the worst thing to happen, please. And it's just really interesting seeing how just because a lot of things that are portrayed on TV or in a series or accepted doesn't mean that it transitions over into real life. And it's just made me think about how even though we think we're progressive, there are things that are just recently becoming more acceptable, and we still have a long way to go on what we need to approve on and what we still need to accept in society. And what I liked about the family dynamic was that I kind of liked this tug and pull situation going on, but it didn't drag on. And finally, I think before episode 10 was even over, the family was kind of learned to be accepting and of their son's decisions to date. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It really depends on the family, but I noticed with more recent BLs, a lot of the parents shown are more like accepting and supportive, But just because this notion of being more accepting in today's society doesn't always mean that every family is going to be accepting. So it's kind of nice to see in a more recent BL as well. And also during the family scene, we see two things being brought up that was kind of like an analogy. First being the bonsai tree, and the second one when Jean's mom brings him to like a tea house and they're making green tea. So the bonsai scene is still like going through my head. I was like, what's going on? Like, I don't understand it. Like, Sherry editor, if you ever like come to conclusion what it's about, or you read someone's interpretation about it, like, please let me know. Like, put this in this video, please.
Editor me here. I read the comment about the bonsai, but I can't find it now. It basically said that a bonsai is something you find in nature and can't control. The parents can't control what Sib wants to do. It's a good way of saying a love like this is natural. Yes, also someone mentioned the bonsai in the pot as an euphemism for the parents creating Sib. The parents raised him and now it's time to let him go and make his own decisions. In the next scene, I rambled on cause there was barely any background info on Jean's dad or the mentor in 1000 Stars, so it's fun to connect them together. Here's a quick overview of what I said, pause if you need to.
And then the next thing I want to touch upon is the green tea. When they're in the the tea house, Ty and his mom are kind of like sitting around mixing tea, and Tyne, oh my god, I keep like getting my story messed up now because I mentioned that when Jean was making his tea, he's like, oh my god, this doesn't taste good. And then the mom was like, well, you're just gonna have to learn how to make it your own. Like, I'm not gonna be around here forever. And that was really sad, but also true. And I think it was her notion of saying that I'm gonna support you no matter what, because I'm not always gonna be here forever. So it ultimately comes down to your choices and your decisions and what you think will be right for your life. And my god, that's just so sad to think about. Like, oh, parents are the best sometimes. They look for our best interest, hopefully. Another thing that I want to talk about is how meta this series is. Like, it called out the film industry and toxic fan behavior. Like, when you think about it, it's those actors acting in a series, being actors acting in a series. Like, psh, mind-boggling. But yes, say it with me. I hope we all learn from the series. Ship the characters, not the actors. Ship the characters, but not the actors. Ship the characters, but not the actors. So yeah, it was very meta, and I also really like the scene when Sib was trying to act out a scene with Aoey, and he was like basically calling out, this is assault. Like, this is basically sexual assault. And I'm like, yes, we need more consent and more communications and BL. Like, that's not how a typical relationship goes. Like, you both have to be on the same page. Like, you can't just like bam, 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 you know? So that was great and refreshing to see. And the last thing we're talking about is film techniques. And I have my notes right here. And then there's my group chat with Shonu as the photo. So I'm going to talk about film techniques, but in no particular order. I like how this show has a lot of rewatch value. If you go back, there may be things that kind of went over your head, or you kind of didn't realize the first time you watched it. For example, I like how there is a lot of reference back to the past and present that kind of like overlay each other. For example, like in episode 11, they're hugging the same way as they were younger. And also in episode 7, during the flashback scene, I think Jean is giving Sib a Pocky. And then later on in their adult lives, Sib is seen feeding Jean a Pocky. So I thought that was really cute. And then another thing that I want to talk about is how the series likes to film the characters from an enclosed space or object to get a sense of how they feel trapped or isolated in their situations. And this brings me back to film class. Like, I feel like this will be my topic of choice, and I could just write out a 10-page essay about the film techniques used in this series. So anyways, we see the use of filming the characters behind an enclosed space the first time in episode 9, when Jean and Sib are kind of feeling isolated and trapped, that their parents don't accept their relationship with each other. And let's see. And then this is also shown in episode 11 when Jean is confronted in the publisher's office. I think she was basically saying that Jean had to stop seeing Sib so it didn't jeopardize the publisher's reputation, the novel's reputation, or the series' reputation. And then this is also done in episode 12. I said, like in episode 12, this shooting behind an enclosed space is to capture the sense of loneliness. And also, I said in hindsight, if you kind of consider filming a shot from a doorway is kind of consider a book, right? That also references how the series is a fiction. Just like a door is similar to a book, you can easily kind of close it, and it also has that rectangular shape to it as well. I said, also in hindsight, considering that this is fiction, the door frame can be considered like a book. You can open it and close it whenever you want, but it will still always be fiction. And again, I said this connects back to the idea of numbers. I think that numbers has an importance and is also considered a theme in Lovely Writer as well. You know how the theme song is like 1, 2, 3, 10 kiss? I thought that was so light and fluffy, but now I kind of like reflect back like, wow, numbers play such an important role in Lovely Writer. For example, Sib is referred to as Actor 8 in the
18.
series and the novel. And Sib, I think, is also tied for 10. And also, Jean and Sib are also 5 years apart, which also can kind of be an issue in real life as well. But if you consider there be a numbering system, it kind of makes sense how some of the fans treat the actors as arbitrary numbers. If you treat the actors as arbitrary numbers, of course, you don't see them having their own lives and that they're actual people behind the screen. Then it definitely does propel them to act in a more toxic manner. And also, I think the number 1, 2, 10 kiss can also be referred to as a ranking system, right? Because you can rank things from 1 to 10, and how strongly you feel about something will propel you to do things that you normally wouldn't do, and also make you carry things out that are deemed as more toxic. In this case, the fans kind of invading or using their fan power in order to cancel Jean and Sib's relationship. And finally, I'm going to talk about my feelings on the last episode. So before I watched the episode 12 fully, I did read a comment. It says, the ending left me mind blown when the actual author, Lovely Writer, appeared and showed that Jean and Sib in this series aren't real. They're imaginable characters. It's so meta. I love it. I love it. My respect for the show, the author, production team, actors, everyone involved in this show just blew the roof. 10 out of 10. So before I saw the scene, I imagined that there'd be a scene where the actors say cut and then it shows the real actor and you see the actual film set. So I got such a bittersweet feeling when I thought of that. But I did pleasantly enjoy the ending they show. Thank goodness it didn't live up to the expectation I thought. I like that the ending enforces the idea that Jean and Sib are just characters that are different from the actors. However, they still exist in a fiction sense, which I'm okay with. Also, it showed the author from a doorway like you have with other scenes being shown through a door frame or doorway. It's cool if you see the door as a representation as a book. I like how people's interpretation is different, like how some are saying that Jean and Sib are real, but how the author used their life to inspire a story, like on her laptop. That makes sense. Real life doesn't inspire fiction, so I can see the overlap. Also, we would connect back to Jeb saying about connecting it back to memories when Gene was having his writer's block. I just love the reference to story writing. Speaking of memories, I watched it hoping that it would be cute and fluffy. I did get that, but I know it was so much more. Well, that's a wrap. I hope you guys enjoy my analysis and my thoughts on Lovely Writer. Definitely check it out. And maybe I'll make a comparison to Lovely Writer and Call It What You Want, because they both kind of call it an industry. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the video and have a terrific day. Bye!